All right, what's good, YouTube? It's your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. Today's video, we got to talk about Isaiah Thomas, who will be joining the Hornets for the remainder of the season. And while that is breaking news, what I really want to focus on is Isaiah Thomas's relationship with LaMelo Ball. There's an article that was just posted on the Charlotte Observer, and they go into detail on those nuances of that relationship. And I think that this is interesting and something that we should talk about. Let's get into it.
AB the Hero, back at it, baby.
All right, let's cut that short because I really want to talk about this one here. I appreciate everybody who's been riding on that like button for the boy. As you can see here, right, we've been covering the Isaiah Thomas story ever since he first touched down on the Hornets, right? We did a video where we reacted and really broke down his initial press conference here when he joined the squad. We did some content when he talked about he gave some praise to LaMelo in the locker room, and he was like, yo, bro, that game you just played, that was one of the best games I've done seen in a minute. He doubled down on that in a post-game press conference. This clip here to me was epic, and this right here made me be like, hold on, wait a minute, I like this dude Isaiah Thomas. But what we have today is this article on the Charlotte Observer written by Roderick Boone, Hornets beat reporter. And it has a few quotes from not only Isaiah Thomas, but from LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and it really goes into detail. And to me, I think shines a different light on that situation. And not in a different, when I say different light, I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean add some different perspective to it, right? Some things that we didn't know, and really sheds how close or what type of relationship LaMelo was getting to create with Isaiah Thomas. Now, the first things first, one of the most interesting aspects of this entire article is right here at the beginning, right? Where they get LaMelo Ball talking about his initial reaction to hearing that Isaiah Thomas might be joining the team. And he says this, excited for sure. I told you I don't watch basketball like that, but when it's on, I always remember. And he says, I saw IT killing in the playoffs. I think they were playing Chicago or something. It was around when my mama was sick too. So I was just going in there, seeing her in the hospital, and he'd be playing. So it'd be crazy. Let's see here. So a lot of respect. Just seeing what he did and how little he is and still doing what he can do and everything that he's doing. Yeah, it's just real special. It's funny that he said how little he is, but that is part of Isaiah Thomas' history, and that's part of his game. To me, when I read this portion here, it spoke to me, right? This really showed me that there might be an opportunity to build some connection on, right? Oftentimes, when you hear that initial, like, you remember way back when folks was, I think, asking LaMelo, shoot, even last year, like, who's taking you under their wing? Who do you really appreciate? You know, anybody on this team acting like your big brother? And we hear him say, nah, I already got a brother. Man. I learned a lot from him. I already got a dad. I don't want no advice. I don't want nothing. But to me, he drew a connection that was more than just basketball. It was an emotional connection that he just drew between him and Isaiah Thomas, right? When my mama was sick in the hospital, I remember watching him hoop, and it was crazy, right? Isaiah was going off way back yonder, so you can imagine that was one of the probably a positive memory in a very dark time for him. So that's a door right there that is open and that can create some synergy right away. All right. So Isaiah Ben Thomas been hooping. I think they say he's been averaging what, 9 points a game or so. Yeah, 9 points, 2 assists a game. Here we got Miles Bridges who chimes in a little bit and kind of gives his bit of insight on what he feels like Isaiah Thomas, but also some of these other vets add to that locker room. And he says, I feel like on the court, he's just helped Melo slow down. Hornets 4, Miles Bridges said, it's certain plays Melo, he makes the flashy plays or he tries to force something, but IT has been talking to Melo, making sure he makes the right play at all times. And off the court, just staying professional. We're young, so not coming late to practice, all that type of stuff. By IT, he's just been talking to us about that type of stuff. What I appreciate here is that, you know, he gives the insight on some of the things that he's helping LaMelo see and kind of correct a bit. But also when he starts talking about, you know, some of the off the court, you know, professional things, he turns it from just a LaMelo thing to an us thing. Like we all need help in that area, and having these vets are making that possible. And so here, Isaiah Thomas really starts to talk about, from his perspective, the knowledge and stuff that he does for LaMelo. So I want to skip down to this part because I think that this is probably the most interesting part here, right? Because he says some things here that I feel like I want to hear from him, and I wish we would have heard from folks many moons ago when it comes to this organization. Damn. So let's see. It looks like it starts here. So I'm coming from a good place. All right, we'll read the whole thing. Just knowing how important possession is. Obviously, we want him to push the pace, Thomas said, but there are times where we don't get things 3 or 4 possessions. We've got to slow it down. Now, it's funny that he says that because if you watch the last game, there are times when he was not in the game and they were trying things and it was just like a chicken running around with his head cut off. And they actually had to pull him in the game to slow it down, to really get their offense going. And LaMelo was a catalyst for that. Get us into sets. Let's see, y'all. Get us into sets that's going to get the ball moving side to side, then attack downhill. So I think it's easier for him to relate to me because I've been in those situations. So I'm coming from a good place and coming from a place of seeing that before and going through what he's going to experience for years to come. Now, if I wanted to read too much into this, I hear him say, so I'm coming from a good place, right? It's easier for him to relate to me because I've been in those situations and I'm coming from a good place. So it's just funny to think that, is he saying this because there may be a time where it's perceived from Melo that somebody is giving him similar information, but it's not coming from a good place? So that's just something that stood out to me right there. So he says, so I fall back on telling him how to play, but I just make sure he realizes, let me see, experience for years to come. Yeah. So I fall back on telling him how to play, but I just make sure he realizes, okay, let's slow it down. Let's see things before it happens. Obviously, I watch from the sidelines. So a lot of times when you're playing, you don't see a lot of things that somebody that's watching from the sideline sees. Anytime I can give him a pointer or two or tell him what I see is only going to benefit him and benefit the team down the line. It's so interesting because oftentimes in basketball, you don't hear people talk in so many I statements, right? Even when like, you know, Kobe might go off for 50, right? And then it'll be like, my teammates just got me the ball, right? My teammates did this thing, right? You hear so much of that in sports. So it's just interesting reading this article to me. And there's just so much I do this, I see this, I point, I do this. Even coaches, right? I remember last year when And actually, the only time they do take a lot of odds is when they're blaming on themselves. I remember when your boy Tebe was struggling to shoot Devontae Graham, and we just started hearing Borrego be like, it's me. I must do better. I must do it right." And so you see that you see that more than you see a lot of these I statements here. So to me, that's interesting, right? Let's see. Since initially, all right. So they kind of wrap up the article here, kind of the last half of it, talking about LaMelo and Isaiah Thomas actually being on the court together and what that's looked like and the benefits that they've seen from that. And surprisingly, LaMelo says, but not surprisingly, I actually like it, right? In regards to, playing off the court. Ball, who's averaging 17.7 points since in March. It kind of takes me back to my young ways when my brother used to be on the ball. So getting off the ball for a little bit is definitely good. So I think that's interesting right there, right? Because we've talked about on this channel a decent amount that, right, a lot of folks want to put LaMelo in that facilitator role, but he comes from a place where he's a scorer, right? And so for him here, he's like, yo, I actually kind of like playing the shooting guard role a bit, and it just reminds me back to playing with my brother. To me, this is what we call foreshadowing, right? When we start talking about let's get a taste of what that looked like, because it's remind me when I used to play with my brother, and I really like doing it. So maybe, but that's another story. All right, that's another video for another day. And then so basically Isaiah Thomas talks about, his perspective on it and what he is telling LaMelo Ball and what he sees in order as a benefit for him to be off the ball. Let's read this here. For me, when I was in those situations, being off the ball didn't allow defense to load up on me, Thomas says. So for me, I'm telling him, stay off the ball a little bit. I'll initiate it, and then you're coming full of steam. You're coming full of steam ahead and on the backside going downhill, and that's hard to put two guys on him, or that's hard for five guys to watch him while he brings the ball up the court. So it just shows the defense something different. It makes his attacking something different. Now, here's where Isaiah Thomas says the stuff that a lot of people always say about LaMelo. And it's interesting. It's just interesting whether or not this is the stuff that's super necessary to bring that out, or if that stuff was just going to come out anyway. But it says, so it just shows the defense something different and makes his attack something different. That just makes him a little more dynamic just because he's 6'7". The pace he plays at with this skill set he has, I mean, he's damn near unguardable when he's able to do both, right? And so I think that they talked about earlier, my man LaMelo is averaging about 17 points a game. And I think that if we're going to do this thing where we play him off the ball more, I would love to see that point total rise up even further. So this is all we're going to talk about for now, man. They both really have a lot of respect and admiration for each other is what it seems from reading that article. Like I said, I wish that this was like a video article, right? I wish we could see them talk about it so then we could see, you know what I mean, how much of this is real spiel and then how much of this is, you got to play the political game here. I think that from reading this, it sounds like there may be some genuine connection. From looking at them on the court and the success that they're having recently, it feels like there's some genuine connection. What we knew a while back, we talked about it on this channel, is that there was a lot of issues that seemed like they were boiling up in that locker room. So when you have those issues, the smart thing to do is you get player coaches in those locker rooms. You get veterans, you get respected voices who you don't have to have the coach come down and try to, you know what I mean, chastise or punish people or persuade them into feeling some other way. You get these player coaches in there, and then they are able to kind of help save that locker room. And I think that is what happened to this Charlotte Hornets team. I think that what we're seeing now is what is actually changing them from that losing streak. Does not seem to be like as much of a basketball thing as much of a culture thing, right? Because it doesn't sound like Isaiah Thomas has this new, oh bro, I seen something that nobody else here seen in LaMelo, and it's really just like, I'm saying it to him in a way that he can hear it, he can respect it, and he can respect me, and then we can move forward from that way. So I think that that's the perspective, and that's the big change, and that's led to this 5-game winning streak. And I think that those guys are playing some good ball, right? Isaiah Thomas has gotten some significant minutes, had time, and really put up points, man, and did a great job. So I think that that's what I see from this article. You can check that thing out. I can link to it in the description, in the comments, and all of that jazz. Your main man, AB the Hero. We finna get up out of here. Peace.
No, not peace. +1, triple B's. We out.